100 years ago, a war ended. A war whose brutality and scale the world had never seen before. A war in which nearly 60 million soldiers took part across the entire planet. In this video, we follow the causes, events, and consequences of the First World War to fully understand how it began and what it led to. To grasp the essence of the First World War, we must start with 1871, the conclusion of the Franco-Prussian War between the French Empire and the North German Confederation, supported by the South German states. After 6 months of fighting, France is defeated, and the victors unite to form the German Empire. Alsace and Lorraine are annexed by the new empire, which becomes a major loss for France. In the following years, Germany rapidly expands its industry, economy, and military power, while securing alliances, first with the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and then with Italy, which is angered by France's colonization of Tunisia. Thus, the Triple Alliance is formed. Germany rises as a new industrial giant and begins colonizing African territories. In response, France enters into an alliance with the Russian Empire and secretly signs a non-aggression pact with Italy, hoping to avoid a second front in case of war. The British Empire, concerned by the rapid growth of the German army, especially the navy, abandons its isolation policy and draws closer to France and then Russia. Together, they formed the Triple Entente. Meanwhile, in the Balkans, the Austro-Hungarian Empire annexes Bosnia and Herzegovina, which clashes with the interests of neighboring Serbia, a country dreaming of uniting all South Slavs. Serbia turns to Russia, which formally supports it. On June 28, 1914, in Sarajevo, a young Serbian nationalist assassinates the Austrian heir to the throne and his wife. Austria-Hungary blames a Serbian organization for the attack and, despite Russia's warnings, declares war the following month. Within days, the conflict spreads to the countries of the Entente and the Triple Alliance, with only Italy remaining neutral for a time. Germany believes Russia will need time to mobilize, so it plans to quickly defeat France by attacking from the north. For this purpose, Germany invades Luxembourg and Belgium, both under British protection, ignoring their neutrality. French, British, and Belgian armies are forced to retreat. Fearing the capture of Paris, the French government relocates to Bordeaux. But the German army changes course to fully encircle the French forces. It is then struck by a French flank attack and forced to retreat. This marks the failure of the Schlieffen Plan. Germany's new objective becomes to seize the strategic ports of Calais, Dunkirk, and Boulogne-sur-Mer in order to cut off British supply lines. The Belgian army cannot stop the advancing German forces, so they open their coastal sluices and flood the Isar River valley, halting the Germans. Soon the Western Front stabilizes into a 700-kilometer line stretching from the North Sea to Switzerland. Germany then shifts its troops eastward to counter Russia's advance into Austro-Hungarian territory. After some hesitation, the Ottoman Empire joins Germany, opening several new fronts, one in the Caucasus, one in the Sinai Peninsula against British-controlled Egypt for the Suez Canal, and one in Kuwait, a British protectorate in a struggle for oil resources. To weaken the Ottomans, the British support an Arab revolt promising independence to liberated lands. The Entente also attempts to capture the Dardanelles Strait to open a sea route to Russia, but Ottoman forces successfully resist. Italy eventually declares war on Austria-Hungary, hoping to gain new territories. In Asia, Japan enters the war against Germany, capturing its territories in the Pacific and China. In Africa, German colonies fall to French, British, and Belgian forces. Many colonized peoples are drafted into European armies. France mobilizes about 800,000 colonial soldiers, most sent to Europe. The British Empire recruits 2.7 million men from its dominions and colonies, over half from British India. In the Balkans, Bulgaria joins the Central Powers to expand its lands. Serbia is attacked on two fronts and quickly occupied. On the Western Front, Germany continues its military innovations. It becomes the first to carry out air bombardments with Zeppelin airships. London and Paris are regularly targeted. Aircraft, first used only for reconnaissance, are soon equipped with machine guns, beginning the first aerial battles in history. Germany also launches submarine warfare, sinking all ships heading toward the United Kingdom, including merchant vessels. In trench warfare, both sides use poison gas, causing massive casualties. Meanwhile, the British create and deploy the first tanks. Despite numerous attempts for breakthrough, the front lines remain unchanged, and heavy losses continue. In the trenches, surviving soldiers endure horrific conditions: mud, disease, rats, and the stench of rotting corpses. In spring, mutinies erupt on the French side, but are eventually suppressed. This stalemate also exhausts Germany. The country turns to economic warfare, sending submarines into the Atlantic to sink any ship bound for the UK, including merchant vessels. Romania joins the Entente, but is quickly overwhelmed by attacks from all sides and captured. Neighboring Russia, exhausted by war, loses over 1.7 million soldiers, and morale collapses. A revolution topples the Tsarist regime. At the same time, the United States realizes it has become a victim of German submarine blockades. Additionally, the Zimmermann telegram, Germany's secret message to Mexico proposing an alliance against the U.S., is intercepted. The United States decides to enter the war on the side of the Entente. In Russia, a second revolution brings the Bolsheviks to power, who immediately sign an armistice with the Central Powers, ending the war on the Eastern Front. Germany then concentrates its troops in the West for a massive breakthrough. German forces advance toward Paris, which again comes under bombardment. But the German army moves too fast and becomes overstretched. French forces counterattack, and German troops are pushed back to the north in panic. From this moment, the Allies gain the advantage on every front. In the south, breakthroughs force Bulgaria and Austria-Hungary to surrender. In Germany, uprisings and revolutionary movements force the Kaiser to abdicate and accept an armistice, officially ending the Great War, a conflict that claimed more than 18 million lives. On June 28, 1919, the Treaty of Versailles is signed. German representatives have no say and must accept all conditions. Germany and its allies are declared fully responsible for the war and must pay enormous reparations. Austria-Hungary and the Ottoman Empire are dissolved, and many colonies are redistributed to the victors. Germany, humiliated and burdened with debt, loses its army and nearly 15% of its territory to France, Belgium, Denmark, and the New Poland. Its colonies are divided among the Allies. One small consolation remains. Germany's industry is left largely intact since the fighting never reached its territory. But the deep humiliation of Germany plants the seeds of revenge, seeds that will later grow into a new global